Hey Internet, Harris here. This is the iPad 10th generation in a glorious new redesign that obviously looks significantly different than the 9th gen last year, but it features the same kind of incremental spec bump, faster processor with the A14, and a few other new features which are really cool. But there are also some very confusing decisions, such as the pencil and the new keyboard, and a higher price tag. So of course the question is this device worth it for students? And I'm going to leave out a lot of the things that aren't important to students to really just focus on that question. So let's go ahead and get started with the iPad 10th generation student perspective. So yes, first off, this does have a redesign that matches the other iPads that are out there, the Pro and the Air, with that aluminum body and kind of that full screen rounded corners of the screen design that looks really good. This doesn't have Face ID, it has the fingerprint scanner, but it does now feature USB-C, which I'll talk about later. And I think the colors look awesome. I'm typically not a big yellow guy, but I would rock this iPad. I think this yellow looks really cool. Got a slightly gold tint depending on the lighting, but I just think it looks really cool, and I think it is a lot better than the iPad Air colors. So all in all, this iPad does kind of catch up with the rest of the lineup in terms of that design, its aesthetics, and I think it looks really good. So just props and a thumbs up for the way it looks, and just the overall redesign now. No complaints there. But almost right off the bat, I do have to complain about a very weird choice that Apple made, and that is in the pencil. Now, if you have no intention of using this iPad with a pencil or stylus for taking notes, you can just skip this section and go on to the next one. But for me, it's very, very confusing, and I think for everyone, it's very confusing that Apple did two things. One, they gave this the same design as the iPad Pro, which allows you to magnetically attach the flat edge of the Apple Pencil 2 to the side of the iPad for charging and storage. That was so convenient and so much better than the Lightning approach that Apple took with the Apple Pencil 1. Okay, so there's that. Secondly, Apple did not give a Lightning port with this iPad, they gave USB-C. So that means that you can't charge an Apple Pencil first generation from the iPad like you could before. So in my mind, it would make complete total sense for Apple to include support for the Apple Pencil 2 with this iPad. However, Apple did not do that. Instead, they insisted on support for the Apple Pencil first gen. And this means that A, if you already have this pencil from an older iPad, you have to buy an adapter for $9. Not the end of the world, but annoying. Very Apple, very annoying. Secondly, it means that if you ever want to charge it, you cannot do so directly from the iPad. You need a cable with you, like 100%, you have to have a cable with you. And third, it kind of just wastes that beautiful flat edge of the iPad. It just doesn't take advantage of that. So all that's to say, I think that if you're going to buy this iPad that's already more expensive than the previous iPad, I say, Apple, you forced me to do this. I'm going to recommend one of the $25 stylus options that I've been using and I've made videos on in the past, that not only has the magnet on it so that you can attach it to different magnetic surfaces like this, but it also has USB-C, which means that you still have to charge it with a cable, just like you would the Apple Pencil, but you don't need an adapter. You can charge it with the same cable that came with your iPad. And because this iPad never supported Apple Pencil 2, you're not missing out on a whole ton of features with this cheaper stylus. And I just switched to the black version of the pencil. It still actually works very well as a stylus. Maybe not quite 10 out of 10, but at least like 9 out of 10, and for the price, I think that's a 10 out of 10. So anyway, that's basically all to say that Apple made it really easy this year for me to recommend one of these cheaper pencils. I think that you're not really missing out on anything if you do that, and in fact, it offers some advantages. Now, if you do get one of these cheaper styli, or even if you get the Apple Pencil 1 and you use like a third-party magnetic solution for it, you're gonna want something to be able to attach it to. And I actually discovered that this ESR case has a little magnetic tab on the side. I don't know if it's designed for this, but it just happens to work perfectly for this. And ESR is the sponsor for this episode, and they have two really killer cases for the iPad 10th gen. The first is called the Ascend Hybrid, and I didn't even realize this when I first got it, but it's a standard protective case that protects all the edges with rubber and shows off the great color of your iPad. But the little trifold panel that protects your screen and lets you use it as a stand detaches and reattaches via magnets. Super strong, and keeps it secure in a really nice folio that, again, you can use it as a stand, but also just keeps your iPad protected. And then if you just want to use it for note-taking or whatever, you can wrap the sleeve, the front cover, around the back of the iPad or just attach it all together, and you have a nice protected iPad on the go. It's really, I think, a brilliant case and a brilliant design. Now, the other option is the rebound case, which is a very simple magnetic folio that boop, pops onto the back of your iPad like so and closes. And this is very simple, very slim, and gives you those same fold options if you want to use this docked up as a stand. This is really great for just making sure it's not getting scratched up, but it can still really easily slide into a bag. So I'll leave links to both of these cases down in the description, and you can use my code to get 10% off, and then there's a code on Amazon to get another 10% off. These are two great options from ESR for your iPad 10. Now, secondly, what's new with this kind of budget iPad, although of course it's still not as budget as it was, it is more expensive, but is the addition to USB-C. Now, I'm not going to talk about using this with, a 4K monitor or stuff like that. So I think USB-C is nice and practical for students for several reasons. Of course, first and foremost is just the ability to charge the cable on either side. So it's a reversible charging cable, which is very nice. But secondly, it gives you access to the same type of hubs and devices that a new MacBook would. So you can attach a USB-C hub to your iPad, and all of a sudden now you have, a headphone jack, an SD card, USB port, HDMI, stuff like that. So it gives you a lot of flexibility if you do need to connect anything. If you needed to do a project and connect a USB microphone, you can do that. If you needed to import footage with an SD card, you can do that. Headphone jack, a thumb drive, stuff like that. It is convenient, probably not super useful for every student, but for some, I think it's really cool. But secondly, the feature that I really like is just the ability to connect charging cables to the iPad and charge other devices. So here I can plug in my iPhone and charge it, from my iPad, which is super cool. Or you could charge your Apple Watch or your AirPods or really any small device. So often I've been in class or traveling, and I've charged up my AirPods or a watch overnight with the iPad with the USB-C connector. That's a really cool feature, and I think that's pretty underrated. Also, this iPad has a feature that no other iPad has. Not even the new iPad Pro has this, and it's the new center-facing camera, which I think Apple should have done a while ago, so it doesn't look like your pinky is in the shot if you're typing using the iPad, and also doesn't seem like you're looking to the side because the camera is on the side. So this is a really cool feature that kind of depends on how much you still use Zoom and video chatting and stuff like that, but it also retains the same camera as the iPad 9, which goes super wide angle, so you can have the regular shot, and then you can also send it super wide, which is kind of fun. Doesn't mean that you'll be using that a lot, but that feature's there, and I just like that new camera feature. I think that is something Apple should have added a while ago. Okay, and then finally, the new thing, Apple also gave this iPad a brand new keyboard option, but it's $250, and I just can't really recommend it for a device that's trying to stay budget. It is awesome. It is a Folio keyboard, which is just like the Logitech one that I praised very highly in previous reviews. It gives you a function row and a fantastic keyboard and trackpad that can detach from the iPad while still keeping the back shell on your iPad for watching movies or whatever. It's a really nice keyboard. I just think $250 is ridiculous when Logitech makes an almost just as good one for $160, or you can go just cheaper with other options. So in my recent iPad for student comparison video, I said that the cheapest iPad you get is still going to give you all of the core features you need as a student for note-taking, for reading, for annotating, for watching content, for creating some basic content, and all this kind of stuff. So you don't need to pay a whole lot to get the most out of an iPad as a student. And I do like that this has the new design. So I think that I would recommend this iPad, and I do really like it if you're trying to spend under $500 with a stylus such as this and a third-party case like this. If you're looking to go first-party accessories and keyboards and Apple Pencil and stuff like that from Apple, you're looking at closer to $1,000, especially if you're going for the 256 gigabyte option. So I do really recommend this iPad with all of its limitations, including only an A14 processor, only a 60 hertz display, a non-laminated display. All of these downfalls, I still recommend this iPad if you're going for a 64GB option and if you're going for a third-party pencil. Otherwise, I think it's just too confusing of a device to recommend at this price point. But I think there's a lot of people that could and would love this at the $450 price point. It's not a perfect device, but it does feature a couple really nice new things for that sub $500 price tag. And if you spec it out properly with the right accessories, I think it can be a really solid device for a lot of students out there. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below, but thanks so much for watching.